So the NFL actually doesn't conduct these tests. It's the actual team, and each team has their own type of evaluation. But they essentially evaluate the same thing, which is what is the risk that each player brings to the team
and
in terms of their background, their characteristics, their choices, and behaviors off the field. Because what the NFL has found out is that behaviors off the field cost them just as much money in some instances as behaviors on the field.
Well, yeah, and that's been very evident in cases recently. I mean, of course, the one that pops in my head is Michael Vick, who definitely had, I'm sure, an interesting background in college. And I know his brother has had also a very interesting background in college. Marcus Vick was bad. And I mean, my brother played college ball at University of South Carolina, and I was friends with a lot of the football players there. And you'd be people that aren't aware, Leah, you know this, but people that aren't aware would be surprised the trouble that these guys get into on Saturday nights and Sunday nights when they're out and about goosing around. They're young guys, have a lot of adrenaline and energy and a lot of testosterone, and they get out there, and a lot of them have criminal records by the time they end up in the NFL.
Yeah, and money and fame and attention from women and unlimited resources to buy alcohol oftentimes exacerbate behaviors that already existed. So you take someone who already has an alcohol problem, you give them tons of money, lots of women, and lots of opportunities to get into trouble off the field, and now you're looking at risks that could brought to the team.
Now, how do they test them? Is there a psychologist or psychiatrist that comes in? Is there a written test, oral test? I mean, do you...
Well, now, Leah, you do that, right? You're one of the evaluators, correct?
I am. I'm one of the evaluators for several teams. And, again, each team hires their own kind of people for it.
Okay.
So most of these people...
Lee?
All right. We may have lost her there for a second. I'm sure if we did.
We lost her for more than a second.
Yeah, I'm sure she'll call back. But we're talking about the NFL draft. When exactly do we see all this, Jake? What do you know? What?
I'm losing them.
Okay. Wait. Leah, we got you back.
Leah,
can you hear me?
Yes,
got you back.
Okay,
okay.
We got you good.
Okay, go ahead. You were talking about the NFL teams hire specific individual people for their own sort of testing.
Yes, and so each team has a different process, but it essentially consists, this exact questions can differ, but it essentially goes for the same aim, which is what is the risk this person brings to the team? And the way they ask that can be questions via paper, but also interviews. And I do both, the helping look at the evaluations that are written as well as conducting interviews to get a better sense of who this person is, where did they come from, what kinds of decisions and behaviors have they had in the past, and what are they likely to do again in the future off football field.
Hey, Leah, do you get a little bit, I guess you get a list of the players that you're going to be evaluating, and do you get a little bio on them or some sort of resume, a little background information of some of the things they might have done in the past that could have been, considered not so good?
You know, Jake, there are a few players that I will already know a little bit about, but in most cases, although I do get the list, I already have it, and I'm scheduled to leave tomorrow, I try not to do research to find out what the media thinks or the coaches think about them. I try to be as objective as possible and obtain all of my information from my interactions and the responses that the athlete gives to me via their written test.
Yeah, I was going to ask that. That was going to be my next question as regards to, I'm assuming you're talking about their college coaches, because college coaches, it can be very subjective as anything else can, and I know from being close to a lot of players at University of South Carolina that were friends, they're guys that were good guys and good players, but for some reason or another, this particular coach just didn't like them.
Yes, and so personal biases can play a role, but certainly I try and keep that information away from me so that I can be as objective as possible for each athlete.
Okay. How much pressure is this for you? Because, you're putting, if you're technically you're evaluating, and then in some of these players you technically put your name on these players and give kind of a check mark
of, a scout.
This guy's okay.
Yeah, you're a scout on the mental side. They have scouts who look at the physical ability, how the athlete performs on a course, running zigzags, catching the ball. That's one end of scouting. You are the other end of scouting, which, as you said, can cost the team a lot of money if these guys get into trouble by trying to fix the problem with good PR people and stuff like that. It could be an expensive proposition. You have a lot on the table coming up.